Mr. President, it has been a long journey for my country since your predecessor, President Clinton, visited Croatia 12 years ago. Now you are coming under completely different circumstances, probably to visit a new member of NATO. So first, can you confirm that Croatia will get an invitation in Bucharest?
The only thing I can confirm is that the United States strongly supports Croatia's membership in the NATO, and I am very hopeful. I don't want to prejudge the decisions of my fellow colleagues at NATO, but I'm hopeful, very hopeful, and it would be nothing better than to come bringing the good message of Croatia's membership.
What about Albania and Macedonia?
I'm for both. I'm for all three. I think it would be very important, and we'll see. You know, I really don't want to. You know, I don't want people to say, "Well, George Bush said we're in, therefore we're in," because that's not the way it works. It works after there's been a vote of the membership. But I would tell you, Croatia's I think, in a very good position. And then in the other two countries, I'm supporting them as well, and hopefully my colleagues will do the same thing.
Mr. President, back in the region, we have the new state of Kosovo. We have an unstable Serbia.
Yeah.
Do you expect the crisis to grow, and how do you see the role of Croatia in the region?
First of all, Croatia serves as a great example. As you said, I'm coming to, in some ways, a different country than my predecessor, Bill Clinton, went to. You know, societies change, governments change, people grow, people, you know, civil society becomes stronger. And Croatia is an example of a country that has gone through a very difficult period and came out stronger and better. And it's an important example for people to see. And Kosovo has now been given a chance to what's initially called supervised independence. But as you said and recognize, society's changed, so will Kosovo, and I think to the better. I supported the decision of supervised independence because I think it was best for the region, and I think it's more likely to lead to peace. And my hope is that the Serbian government will see that the Serbs in Kosovo are treated with respect, that their rights as a minority are respected, and will eventually help Kosovo succeed as opposed to trying to hinder their success.
Why is Eastern Europe so important for the United States, and why did your government so strongly support the independence of Kosovo?
Well, first of all, I believe in freedom everywhere. I believe people should be free. I believe it's a God-given gift to every man, woman, and child. And I believe it's in the interest of peace that people's societies. Kosovo, of course, was unique in that it was, you know, it's kind of the final chapter of the breakup of Yugoslavia, and that it's been part of a United Nations process, which actually kind of was the end of a very difficult period. And so Eastern European is important to me because there are young democracies that are getting a foothold and flourishing, and it's hard work. It's not easy to be a democracy. It's much easier, I guess, in some aspects to live under a dictatorship. The problem is that it is not right, and it's not fair, and it's not just. And so, I admire countries that are going through the difficult struggle of democracy. We did the same thing in our country, you know. We enslaved people for 100 years. I mean, the great bastion of democracy and freedom had slaves. The relatives of my Secretary of State, you know, were slaves. And so we were imperfect for a long period of time. And so my point to you is that democracy is a constant work in progress. And it's exciting to see young democracies begin to take off and take hold.
Talking again about NATO. NATO membership will bring both carrots and sticks. We all know there is no something like free lunch,
right,
like you Americans like to say. And I know that you don't like hypothetical questions.
Sure.
But if you were Prime Minister Sanader, what would your agenda be for the Croatian people? Why should they join the organization in 2009? Why?
Well, that's a good question. First of all, for security reasons. Secondly, because you know, you be hanging out with good company. I mean, be a part of, you know, a European alliance that is, and a transatlantic alliance. I think it'll strengthen relationships, and having good relationships with the nations of NATO as a partner, an equal partner, will make it easier for economies to grow over time, for example, because people will begin to trust you more, people begin to get to know you better, and people begin to be comfortable. You know, Croatia in NATO sends a very clear signal that they you know, have passed a test of reform and you know, difficult choices, and that, you know, and that it'll make it easier for the next governments to say, we're a member of NATO, come and take a look at us for investment. And when people invest in Croatia, it means people are going to get better paying jobs. And so I do believe there's a connection between the security NATO gives and prosperity that can, you know, it comes about over time with good policy, internal policies that attract capital.
As a correspondent here during election year, I just cannot resist. So I have to ask you at least one question about topic number one. We all know that you endorsed Senator McCain.
Yes.
But do you think America is ready for a woman or Afro-American president as well?
I don't think America is going to elect a woman or African-American. I truly believe that America will elect John McCain. That's not to say Americans are voting against. They're going to vote for John McCain because he has got the right attitude and toughness necessary to be the president in times that are dangerous. I mean, we need somebody in the Oval Office who's willing to take the fight to the enemy and at the same time advance freedom as the great alternative to their beliefs. And John McCain is more capable of doing that.
Mr. President, after almost 8 years here in White House, do you have any regrets?
You know, I'm sure there's some things I could have done better. I mean, for example, I regret that the tone in Washington can be ugly at times. You've witnessed it. I've tried to do my best. You know, not call people names, but there's still a, you know, there's a coarseness in the politics here. And I wish I could have done a better job of changing the tone. On the other hand, I don't regret serving. It's been a fantastic experience. And, you know, I've had to make some big, tough decisions. And I can truthfully tell you, I based those decisions on principle. I've not tried to respond to, you know, polls and focus groups. I don't think that's a good way to make decisions. And I'm very comfortable with, you know, some of the major decisions I made, no matter how hard they may have been. And I'm very grateful to the American people to give me a chance to be the president.
Mr. President, thank you very much for this interview.
Thank you.
And I wish you a safe and pleasant trip to
Thank you,
Croatia.